This question from Quiz2 Jan 2026 question paper. So consider the following code segment for the symbolic testing. The positive inputs until a 0 or negative integer is read. So the code is given, which is a function, and there are 4 options. So which one is correct? And choose the appropriate path constraint. They are asking to find the path constraint PC for the while loop with a sequence of n true outcomes followed by a false, and consider the array as a fresh symbolic value. Friends, this one is important. You can consider this question is important, friends. First read the question. In this type of questions you have to draw the flowchart. Is easy, friends. And this is the closed braces, right? So for this complete function, int sum until 0, int a is a variable, right? Of the variable, that is int a. Again the initialization of int sum equals to a, right? So int initialization of the variable sum. So initialization of int sum. These two variables are initialized. One is sum equals to a, right? Sum equals to a. And next while condition, right? While true, while block, this block of blue color code is executed inside the while condition is true. So while true. So next for the condition, right? For the condition, diamond box, while true condition. So first condition represented with 1. Okay, first condition. If the first condition fail, that is F1 false. If the first condition is true, that is T1. If the first condition is, if this condition is false, the cursor will reach return sum, right? Return sum. So false, return sum. If the condition is true, this line, right? X equal to sym underscore input, that is symbolic input. X is a symbolic input, friends. So the symbolic inputs are different than normal concrete inputs. So this is X is a sym symbolic underscore input, right? Symbolic input. This statement is there. After this if condition and x less than or equal to 0. After this there is an if condition and x less than or equal to 0. If the condition, this is the second condition in red color, if it is false, F2. If the condition is true, T2. Okay, these are the branches. Control flow for the program. If the condition is true, break statement, right? Break means the exit the loop. Break, and program break means exit the loop is false if this condition is false. So directly after symbolic input it will reach this statement, right? Sum equal to sum plus x. So for this statement, sum equal to sum plus x, this statement is executed. Is here the loop continues, does not break, loop continues. Friends, if you understand the program, it is very easy. So loop continues. X less than 0 true. If the false means x greater than 0, right? False means x greater than 0. Here in the question consider the Ri as a symbolic fresh symbolic value. So that is here the x, this one is symbolic inputs. Symbolic inputs are Ri friends. So xi means Ri. Xi means Ri. Symbolic inputs given in the question. Given a one statement, right? So this one, the path constraint. We want to find the path constraints. So path constraints, always for the path constraints. So branching. So they consider these branchings. This one F2 condition and T2 conditions. So path constraints for the while loop with a sequence of, this one important, n true outcomes followed by a false. N true outcomes followed by a false. So true outcomes, n true outcomes followed by the false. Outcomes means that is the output. What is this output? N true outcomes followed by false output. So n true outcomes, that is n true outcomes means n times in this question, n times outcome means, so for while loop, right, they are asking for while loop, that is the while loop is executed. So here, so they are mentioned the choose the appropriate path constraint PC for the while loop. This one important, for the while loop with a sequence of n true outcomes followed by false. That is n true means the n times the while loop is executed, that is the while loop is continuous. n times the while loop continues. Followed by a, that is plus, followed by a plus or end symbol, followed by a final evaluation, followed by a false. False means the while, true for while loop executed, false for while loop not executed. That is while loop not executed means breaks, right? While loop breaks. So this one important, friends. So n times while loop continues, that is executed, and while loop breaks when the while loop continues from the flow chart. So this while loop is executed, green color, this one, right? This is the important. So when while loop is true, enter into this symbol, right? So n times the while loop executed, n times the while loop executed, that is n times means in the programming n iterations, right? N iterations. So generally the loops are executed starting from 0 to n minus 1, right? 0 to n minus 1 iterations, 0 to n minus 1 times. That is, so for example, 0 to 5 times, how many times the loop is executed? 6 times, right? 0 to 5 means 6 times. That is 0 to n minus 1 time means n times the loop is executed. That is I is ranging from 0 to n minus 1. So n times the loop is executed. So here the loop is executed condition, right? This F2. For F2 the loop is executed if T2 means the condition is true. So this one, x less than or equal to true, the loop breaks. X less than or equal to true, the loop breaks. So for this n times the loop conditions for false, right? F2 condition false. So for false F2 condition, that is loop continues. So while the loop breaks for T2 true, here the condition is true, break, exit the loop, right? So for T2 condition is what? X less than or equal to 0, right? X less than or equal to 0 breaks. X less than or equal to 0 T2 condition we are writing. If the x less than 0 here, so see in the code also, x less than or equal to 0, if the x less than or equal to 0 breaks, right? So while loop breaks. So n times the while loop continues, condition is F2, that is x greater than 0. This one x greater than 0. So this one x greater than 0. Here the symbolic inputs, here we already write, remember here the symbolic inputs x, that is ri2. So the symbolic inputs are ri, right? Ri equals to 0 to I changes from 0 to n minus 1, right? For iteration, number of iterations. So r0, r1 and so on, rn minus 1. So all these are symbolic inputs, friends. Ri to r1 and so on, ri minus 1. Write these conditions in conjunction form. So F2, this one conjunction form. So in the conjunction form, so x is ri, right? So we mentioned x is ri. So here the symbolic inputs is ri. In the while loop they mentioned. So x is ri. So x greater than or equal to 0 means, so write this condition. So ri greater than or equal to 0, right? Ri greater than or equal to 0, not greater than or equal to, only greater than. So here only x greater than 0. So we are changing x to ri greater than 0. In conjunction form and you can write and the indexing start from I belongs to 0 to n minus 1, right? This is the conjunction form, friends. You can write like this, followed by means end, right? Follows end, this one. So next while loop breaks, that is x means ri, right? Ri less than or equal to 0, ri less than or equal to 0. So this you can write only for I value because of iteration, n times true, right? n times the loop continues. For iterations, that is indexing range, you have to write like this. So the curly braces and indexing I start, I belongs to 0 to n minus 1, ri greater than 0. This is the path constraint, friends. This is the answer and this is the path constraint completely. We are first from the code you have to draw the flow chart, and flow chart from the question you can match the what is the symbolic input and what is the range. Okay, the answer is first one, right? And I belongs to 0 to n minus 1, ri greater than 0 and rn less than or equal to 0. That is 0 to n minus 1 iterations. For 0 to n minus 1 iterations, the loop while loop executes. For the final iteration, the last iteration, for the last iteration, that is I equal to n, the loop breaks, right? Execute. The loop false means loop breaks. So for I equal to n, the last iteration, the loop breaks. So for nth iteration, that is the last iteration, the loop breaks. At that time I equal to n. Here I equals to 0 to n minus 1. So for this the input is x, that is ri. So generally input is x and x is replaced with symbolic input. Ri is the symbolic input, friends. X is the symbolic input in the program and replace x with ri in the given question. This last iteration I equal to n, that is n, rn greater than less than or equal to 0. So these conditions are satisfied, right? Rn less than or equal to 0. This condition is true. Here I belongs to a to n minus 1 is wrong. Go to not n, n minus 1. This is the correct. This is wrong because it is n. This is not n plus 1. Last option is also incorrect because this is also range 0 to n only. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe my channel, and thank you for watching.